All right, today we're going to dive into something pretty deep. We're talking about a blueprint, a kind of hidden map that reveals the timeless patterns of human nature that are, believe it or not, governing our lives every single day. We're going to explore how to go from just being a passive character in your own story to actually picking up the pen and becoming the author.
So, let me just start with a question for you. Do you ever get that feeling that you're just following a script you didn't write? That the things that push you, the fears that hold you back, the desires that pull you forward are all strangely predictable? Well, if you've ever felt that, you're not crazy. You're actually onto something huge.
You see, the key to understanding this script we're all following is to look at history a little differently. It's not just a boring collection of dusty dates and forgotten names. Think of it more like a mirror. It reflects the exact same human patterns, the same fears, the same ambitions, over and over and over again. The stuff you're dealing with right now, it has played out a million times before. And getting a handle on this grand blueprint, well, that's the real first step to unlocking your own potential.
So, to really start uncovering this blueprint, the first place we have to look isn't outward into the past, but inward, at our own ancient internal programming.
Yeah, that's right. Think of it like you're running on an ancient piece of software. It's the operating system that's been humming along inside every human for thousands of years. It's this unchanging core that we absolutely have to understand first.
So what's this operating system running on? Well, it basically boils down to 4 primal drives. First up, you've got self-interest. Let's be honest, we are all wired to think of ourselves first. It's just how we're built. Second, there's fear. Now, this was designed to literally save our lives, but in the modern world, it mostly just builds a cage around us. Third is power, that deep, undeniable hunger we all have to be heard, to be seen, to be respected. And finally, number 4, the liar for convenience. You know what I'm talking about. It's all the little excuses we make to avoid discomfort and sidestep a difficult truth. Just recognizing these drives in yourself and in others, that's the beginning of real wisdom.
And here's a really crucial point. This is not about judgment. These drives aren't good or bad in a moral sense. They just are. They're the engine. They're what makes us go. And once you can accept that reality, you can start to see the world and all the people in it with a totally new and stunning kind of clarity.
And check this out. This is how those primal drives create what we could call our habits of the mind. It's fascinating. For example, that fear drive we talked about, it leads directly to resisting change. It's why we stay in jobs we hate or relationships that are bad for us, because they feel familiar and safe. Our drive for power and status, that fuels comparison, which this chart calls an invisible poison. And it's so true. And because our brains are just wired for stories, not spreadsheets, we're moved by narratives, not facts, which means, as you can see, power really does belong to the storyteller. This is our programming, live and in action.
Okay, so we've looked at the internal software. Now let's zoom out and see how this software actually operates out in the real world. Because, we don't exist in a vacuum. We're all living inside a grand arena that has its own set of very, very real and unyielding rules.
We're all performing on this giant stage, and it's governed by forces that we simply cannot escape. The fundamental laws of nature, the facts of our own biology, and the invisible structures of the society we live in. Our inner nature is constantly in a push and pull with these massive external realities.
And this brings us to nature's unbreakable laws. These are like the physics of the arena. First, nature seeks balance, not justice. It's mathematical. Chaos is just a consequence of imbalance. Second, it's survival of the adaptable. The most flexible are the ones who win. So if you're feeling stuck, that's a huge sign that you've become rigid. Third, nature always operates in cycles. Remember that. The highs, the lows, they are all temporary. A new season will always come. Next, nature demands energy. The old use it or lose it principle applies to everything, your muscles, your skills, even your spirit. And finally, it is resource-driven. Your success is almost always determined by the resources you command, whether that's skills, knowledge, or capital. These aren't opinions. This is how the game is played.
And if you want to see these laws play out on a massive scale, just look at the predictable life cycle of, well, any empire, or even a big corporation. It's uncanny. It always starts with this disciplined, hungry expansion. Then wealth starts to pile up. Then inevitably comes corruption and a focus on luxury. Pretty soon, the expenses outpace the income, which leads to internal decay and, you guessed it, collapse. This pattern is as old as civilization itself, and it just keeps repeating.
So, we've looked at the internal blueprint and the external rules of the arena. Now we get to the most important question of all. What do we actually do with this knowledge? How do we use this blueprint to move forward and take control?
And this slide right here, This gets to the absolute heart of our modern problem. We are obsessed with technological progress. We have these incredible, amazing new tools. But here's the kicker: we haven't changed our fundamental human nature one single bit. True progress, the kind that actually matters, isn't about the next iPhone. It's about the hard, messy, internal work of understanding and mastering those primal instincts we just talked about.
This is exactly where the blueprint becomes a practical tool you can use today. You can take that cycle of empires and apply it to your own life through what we'll call a personal audit. Take a serious, honest look at your life. Where is your energy, your time, your focus, your expenses outpacing your discipline and your purpose? A personal collapse, just like an empire's collapse, happens when the bloated bureaucracies of your own bad habits create an imbalance that you just can't sustain anymore.
So in the end, understanding this entire blueprint, our ancient drives, our mental habits, the unchangeable laws of the arena, it's not meant to be a life sentence. It's not supposed to trap you. It's the exact opposite. It's meant to set you free. It gives you the map. And once you have the map, the only question left is the one you see right here. What are you going to choose to write for yourself?